Blazor is having some significant updates in .NET 6. In this video, we'll have a look at Blazor updates for .NET 6 using Visual Studio 2022. We'll have a look at 4 new features and how to implement them. And stay tuned to the end of this video where I'll show you how you can start using these .NET 6 Blazor updates right now. Now for more ASP.NET Core tutorials, visit roundthecode.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/roundthecode and download our ASP.NET Core code examples at roundthecode.com/code-examples. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is preserving the pre-rendering state. Now .NET 5 had a great new feature for Blazor WebAssembly where we could pre-render the application to the server before we showed it to the client. Now one of the main benefits of that is the fact that it supported SEO search engines. With search engines, they have difficulty trying to render applications that rely on front-end technologies such as WebAssembly or JavaScript. But with .NET 5 we were able to pre-render the WebAssembly application into the server. Now I've got an example in front of me, so we've got our Blazor WebAssembly application here, and what this is a note listing component. This note listing application will list all the notes and we can add extra notes to the application. So this is where the bulk of the functionality lies, but we've also got this host application here. With the host application, we've got our layout in here, so our HTML and our head, and we've also got the body. So by default, this will go to the host file here, and inside here we've got our component type, and this is bringing in our WebAssembly application. And we're also making sure that we set a render mode to WebAssembly pre-rendered. So when you are using pre-rendering for Blazor WebAssembly, it will load up the application twice. Now this presents a problem when we're initializing a particular Razor component, particularly if we're making an API call. It means we have to make the API call twice, which is not far from ideal. So I'm going to demonstrate that now with this application. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a new property and I'm going to call it loading. Now we're going to make some changes to our onInitialized async method. We're going to set loading equals true. We're now going to set a task delay so I can show this to you. I'm going to set it to 2 seconds. Okay, so we're initializing our notes instance down here. We're going to just create some default notes in here. I'm going to create a new note. Hello there. I'm going to set the time to now. I'm just going to add another note as well. I'm going to put how are you doing in there. And once that's done, we're going to set the loading back to false. I'm going to make an adjustment up here so we know when the loading is set to true. So I'm going to say if loading, we put in a p tag of loading, otherwise we're going to display the fact that there's no saved notes. Right, let's give that a run and see how it's going to work for us. So our application is now loading. You can see the notes are there. Now it's replaced it with a loading message and now it's re-rendered the notes. So this is the problem here with .NET 5. We weren't able to store the notes, so it ended up rendering it a second time. But with .NET 6 we can fix that. So I'm going to come out of here and stop the application and implementing a fix for it. So what we need to do first is we need to go into our _host file. So that's inside our host application here. And what we need to do is we need to call a persist component state tag like that. So that's all the changes we need to make in our host application. If we go into our WebAssembly application now, and specifically into our note listing component, we need to add a few things up here. So we need to implement the iDisposable interface, and we also need to inject the component application state into our application. Now that we've done that, we go down here and we're going to create a new method. So we're going to call it stored notes. So it's going to be a private, returns a type of task, and we're going to call it store notes. In here, we're going to call our application state, and we're going to call persist as JSON. The key is notes, and we're going to store our notes property in there. And then we just need to return a task.completed task like that. Now we need to go into our onInitialized async method. So we're going to get rid of this loading and time delay. We don't need it. That was just to demonstrate the actual issue. So what we can do here is we call the application state.onPersisting. Within that, we're going to add our stored notes method that we just created. Now we're going to do an if statement. We're going to check to see if the notes actually appear in the application state. So the way we do that is we call our application state again, and we're going to call the try take as JSON. Now it's stored as a notes array, so we're going to look for our notes key, and assuming it's there, it's going to store it in a local variable called stored notes. So assuming it's there, all we're simply going to do is we're going to declare our notes property as the data in our stored notes variable, which is there. And we just tidy that up. Otherwise, we're going to put an else statement around the notes, initialize it like normal, and that hopefully should rectify our issue for us. Now, a few other things we need to do before that. We're getting a few errors at the moment. We need to call the dispose method because we're implementing the iDisposable. So if we go down here, what we're going to do is we're going to call the void iDisposable.dispose. And within this, what we're going to do is we're going to call our application state on persisting, and we're going to take out the store notes method when we dispose of this razor component. Okay, just got a syntax error there, so that should hopefully resolve that. Right, let's give that a run and see if it's going to work for us. So our application has run now, and as you can see, our notes have rendered. They've only rendered once, and that resolves the issue with the API calls. We don't need to call it twice now with .NET 6. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is the query string component parameters. Now this is a nice little change for .NET 6 where we can set a parameter from a query string parameter. I'm going to demonstrate how you can actually go ahead and do this. So we've got a note listing component open. So what we need to do is we just need to go down here and we're going to create a new property, and we're going to call it custom message. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to set it a parameter attribute to it. We also need to set another attribute for it. So we need to set the supply parameter from query. Now we can leave it like this, and if we were to set a query string parameter with custom message, it will automatically populate into this custom message property. However, what we can do as well is we can pass in a parameter of name and override that. So we're going to actually set the query string parameter as message. And now what we need to do is to demonstrate this is we're going to go up here and we're just going to put a custom message onto the page. I'm going to say if the custom message property has some text in it, we're going to display that message to the page. So my custom message, and we bring in the custom message variable, custom message property like that. Okay, let's give our application a run and see if it's going to work for us. So you can see I'm just about to load up our application, but what I'm going to do as well, as you can see from the URL up there, so I'm going to pass in a message parameter and I've typed some text in there. So hopefully that text will appear in our application. So let's give that a go. And as you can see right up there, we've got our text in there, my custom message, and the message is hello there. Our next update is to modify the page title from a razor component. Now this means that we can store the HTML title in a Razor component. So what we need to do first is we need to go into our underscore layout file, which is in our host application, and we need to remove the default title from it. We're going to go ahead and replace it with a component type. We're going to set the type of head outlet. And because we're using WebAssembly pre-rendered, we just need to bring in the render mode for that. Like that. Just close off the tag. We also need to just make sure that we import the Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Components.Web namespace, otherwise it won't be able to find the head outlet. Now we can go into our note listing component, and what we're going to do here is we're going to display the title depending on how many notes we've got stored. So what we can do with this is we can call the page title tag, and what we're going to do is we're going to type in the notes in here. So we're going to check if there's any notes. Make sure it's not null as well. And assuming there are some notes, we're going to just display the count. Otherwise, we're going to return 0. So that will render viewing the number of notes and the word notes next to it. Let's give our application a run now and see it in action. You can see our application is running now, and you can see our page title is showing viewing 2 notes. So what's going to happen if we add in a new note? So let's add in a new note. So we're going to put that in as a message. We're going to go ahead and submit it. So it's appearing on the right hand side there, and as you can see, it's updated our page title for us. The final thing we're going to have a look at is error boundaries. Now, error boundaries allows you to target a particular element on the Eraser component where you want a custom message should an exception be thrown. I'm going to demonstrate this now. So every time a message appears, it comes from this note view Razor component here. So what we're going to do is every time a message starts with the letter A, we're going to throw an exception, and that's what we're going to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to override the onInitialized method like that, and this is where I'm going to throw the exceptions. So we get the note.message, and we see if it starts with A. And if it starts with the letter A, we're going to throw a new exception, note message can't start with A. Now that we've done that, we're going to go back into our note listing component. So you can see in our note listing here, we've got our note view component here. So that's where the exception is going to be thrown. So what we can do with this is we can wrap this around an error boundary tag like that. I'm going to indent that in. So next thing we need to do is we need to call the child content tag, and we need to wrap that around the note view component. Now, assuming everything's fine and no exceptions are thrown, then everything inside this child content will be rendered. However, if there is an exception, then what we can do is we can call our error content, and we can also pass in a customizable context parameter, and that will carry our exception. Then from there, we can just customize our error message for it. So message has the following error, and what we're going to do here is we're just going to pass in the message from the exception. Right, let's give that a go in our application and see whether we can show this actual custom error message. Just one thing I need to do is just fix up the semicolon syntax error there, which I forgot to add. Let's give that another run and see if it's going to work for us. So our application has loaded for us. Let's write some messages in here. So let's just put in a simple message there. So you can see that's created absolutely fine. Now remember, we created the exception where the message starts with A. So let's go ahead and do that and just see if it's going to throw an exception for us. So we're going to type in a message there, As you can see, it hasn't rendered the message, it's rendered our exception there, and it's rendered our error message there, saying the note message can't start with the letter A. Now, this video was recorded in September 2021, and .NET 6 is not due to be released until November. However, you can download Visual Studio 2022 Preview right now and start using these .NET 6 updates. Just remember to download Preview 3.1 or above. If you're watching this after .NET 6 has been released, you can just download Visual Studio 2022 as normal. Now, thanks very much for watching, and make sure you check out our C#10 and .NET 6 new features videos.